Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. In just the past few hours, we've gotten a fuller look at Donald Trump's foreign policy vision. And I have to say, it is worse and more dangerous than I think I even expected. With MAGA poised to rapidly undo the American-led global democratic order, in fact, taking concrete steps today to do so, and unraveling that began this morning with an announcement from Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, saying that America was pulling back from defending its allies.
We must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. We're also here today to directly and unambiguously express that stark strategic realities prevent the United States of America from being primarily focused on the security of Europe.
So we want the Ukraine war to end. Ukraine will have to hand over territory that Russia took through military force. Ukraine won't be in NATO. I mean, again, these are all the things that were going to be negotiated, right? And crucially, and that was really the key line there, we're pulling back from NATO. You're kind of on your own. You're a sort of side concern. Now, part of the reason this type of rhetoric is so seismic, the reason it had such explosive landing on the continent and around the world, has to do with what NATO stands for when it was created. I mean, the reason that we have this set of interlocking international institutions, from the World Bank to the IMF, to the UN, to NATO, they were established after World War II precisely because of the tens of millions of people who died in the bloodshed as a result of the competitive conquering aspirations of rising empires and fascist regimes throughout the world. NATO was formed by the United States 76 years ago to pledge that an attack on one member was an attack on all, what is known as Article 5. It started with 12 countries. It now has 32 members. The only time, we should note, that Article 5 was actually invoked, the one time, was when all the allies joined together in one fight, when they all came to America's aid after September 11th, pledging their troops and materiel to our war in Afghanistan. Canadians, Italians, Danes, Spaniards, Norwegians, Estonians, Latvians, and more gave their lives for our war on terror. That's how alliances work. Allies are supposed to have each other's back. At least they were before this morning. Not long after Hegseth spoke, Senate Republicans voted to confirm Tulsi Gabbard as the next director of national intelligence, a policy lightweight whose greatest foreign policy achievement was visiting Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, along with his top cleric who threatened suicide bombings in the United States. Gabbard also has a lengthy track record of siding with Russia and Putin over U.S. intelligence consensus. And that just sat fine with all the Senate Republicans except for Mitch McConnell, who joined all 47 Democrats and independents in voting against Gabbard. Here is Gabbard being sworn in just hours after that confirmation vote. At almost the same time Gabbard was being confirmed, Donald Trump was getting off the phone with another international leader.
Breaking news from the White House. President Trump saying he's spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin this morning. Trump says he agreed to visit Russia, and Putin is coming here to the U.S.
Trump breaking the news of his, quote, highly productive call with Putin on social media this morning, saying we both agreed we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war with Russia-Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. Wow. We both believe very strongly in it. Well, that's nice. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's capital N nations. Now, I think the idea of bringing the war to some conclusion and peace is obviously something that basically everyone wants at this point. But the glaring thing here is that the other country on the receiving end of Russia's aggression, the one that got invaded, that's had thousands of people killed by Russian troops who invaded Ukraine, didn't seem to be looped in on the developments relating to their future.
Are you freezing out President Zelensky of this process a bit? Isn't there a danger of that?
No, I don't think so, as long as he's there. But, you know, at some point you're going to have elections, too. You're going to have an election.
Do you view Ukraine as an equal member of this peace process?
It's an interesting question. I think they have to make peace. Their people are being killed, and I think they have to make peace. President Putin wants to have peace now, and that's good. And he didn't want to have peace with Biden.
I want to be clear about what we're watching. Just today, you are watching Donald Trump disassembling the U.S.-led international order. I mean, it started with the USAID stuff, but today was the first big step to take it apart in order to benefit global authoritarians that he envies and openly admires. Politically, Trump has succeeded in selling this kind of foreign policy posture, a sort of America First isolationism, to a lot of Americans. And it's really true that our leading role in the world has been largely a product of a kind of bipartisan elite consensus, and sometimes pretty removed from democratic majorities who tend to believe Americans give out too much foreign aid and, quote, police the world. And believe me, I got to say, personally, I've spent 2 decades critiquing the many, many shortcomings and downright cruelties and absurdities of that same American-led international order. But however imperfect it is, and God is it, what Trump wants to replace it with is just far, far worse. Again, the current international order was created by the U.S. and its allies to prevent the world from the unthinkable. There are rising tensions between the victorious nuclear superpowers, and institutions like NATO and the United Nations were formed in large part to prevent the Cold War from becoming World War III and a global nuclear holocaust. And by the way, the threat of nuclear war is not exactly gone. But there's another reason Trump is eager to jettison the old order in favor of an anarchic world in which strong countries just do what they want. Back in the day when you would hear Nazis claim that Austrians and Czechs really are German anyway, you can hear echoes of Putin's claim that Ukrainians are really just misguided Russians. There's no such thing as Ukraine. And so right now what Trump is doing is sending the message to everyone around the world that not only is territorial acquisition by force okay, but, and this is really crucial, the U.S. is interested in pursuing it. Repeatedly, constantly, over the last few weeks, from Greenland to Panama Canal to Canada as a 51st state to now envisioning the Gaza Strip as an American-occupied development project. The emerging Trump doctrine is that democracies are weak and soft. We will side with autocracy over them. And it's disastrous, not just for America's place in the world, but also for the cause of peace. The idea that the path to peace is to throw overboard democracies in favor of authoritarian regimes is wildly dangerous. It's the fundamental through line of Trump's worldview. He hates our allies. He's trying to pick a fight with Canada and seems to love our enemies because our enemies see the world as he does. Transactional, ripe for the picking. And with loyal, morally flexible subordinates like Hegseth and Gabbard, he is essentially reorienting American politics as friendly to dictators and authoritarian regimes, primarily and hostile fundamentally to democracies. It's shaping up to be the most radical transformation of America's role in the world since Roosevelt, and I don't think it's going to end very well.